Ah, man, it's been a while, but we are back in the new year with this new episode. Y'all know me, Maurice Hunter III, and this is Good Earners reviewing The Sopranos. And here on Good Earners, we like to talk about family, finesse, and finances and feelings in the world of Tony Soprano, bringing you a new perspective, a fly perspective, and a black perspective. However, we're going to have a whole nother perspective today, and I'm so excited to do this. We have had supporters of ours on here before. Shout out to Kiori, shout out to Chris Falone. But now we are now bringing on one of the other sex and excited about her perspective and excited about her thoughts, not only on The Sopranos and our show, but also the episode that we're having the lowest form of conversation about today, Cold Stone. We have Monica Goldberg. How you feeling? And welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's super exciting to be here.
Yes.
Long time listener, first time caller.
Yeah. First time call. Can I ask, like, and maybe you've said it in the email, but for those that may have missed the episode, that maybe you did say that. How did you come across our podcast? Because I mean, there's tons of Soprano podcasts. We're probably real late in the game. I mean, there's maybe one more that I know of with siblings that are still actively making the episodes, but I know we were really late to the party, so to speak.
I think I didn't watch it all the way through in real time.
Mm.
I was old enough to do so, and I remember watching a couple, three seasons, but then I kind of petered out. And then at some point, maybe during COVID or something, I did a full rewatch or a
Mm.
full watch to get to
Mm.
the end of and I realized how amazing it was as a body of work. And then I started rewatching, periodically. And so I was in the middle of one of my periodic rewatches. And especially if you don't have friends who love The Sopranos, you
Mm-hmm.
can't talk about what you
Mm-hmm.
just saw very much. So
Yeah.
it's great to at least listen to a pod where people are thoughtful about it. Obviously, it's not same interaction, but at least you're like, yeah, yeah, or no, no, from the sides.
Yeah.
Um, so I think I was kind of a ways through a rewatch, and I came across your all's. I just searched it up on Apple Podcasts and came across your all's and listened to it, and I was into it enough that I went back and started listening to all of the ones that you had already done until I
Wow.
caught up to where I was or something. And then I started watching same episode and listening to the pod
Wow.
after that. And
That's thank you.
it was such a treat. It was just because I had never, I mean, again, I enjoy it as a body of work, but I never really thought through it the way you guys did, like scene by scene. And it is a different perspective. Like,
Hmm.
I just some of the stuff you guys really appreciated had gotten completely by me. So it was revelatory. So
Yeah.
super, super fun.
Yeah, no, and we appreciate that. Like anybody that goes back and listens, like shout out to y'all for the dedication. Cause I mean, I do understand that when you, cause I'm fans of podcasts as well that I've listened to like, oh, this is good. I got to go all the way back. And matter of fact, I can't watch the next episode till I listen to, I'm on the other side too. So I understand the fandom side of like supporting and like liking what some people are doing. I didn't think that when we were doing it in real time, I didn't think it would catch as crazy as it did in the sense of so many walks of life. I mean, we have new emails that I haven't even read, and it's like from completely different walks of life. Like that, I was like, oh, I can't believe this person. Like they felt comfortable, so comfortable to write into us. Like, and again, I haven't even read these on air because I haven't had the guys on, but I was like, wow, I can't believe it's reached to this degree of this facet of people that are intrigued by our perspective. Because we know in our mind we are similar to a glorified crew. Like we just us three in our own little world, just you know jacking off or whatever you want to call it, like just having our conversation about it. But it happened to resonate for people, and people find humor and find interesting takes or different, I guess, open portals of thoughts that I guess it changed people's perspective on it in a certain way. So I knew it was a like a hook, line, sinker, but I just didn't know it would connect as much with people that may have not necessarily come from the same walk as us three. So
Yeah, no, I think you guys, don't underestimate or what one of our former presidents said, don't misunderestimate your
yeah.
your skills. I think you guys and as you said before, it's rare to also get the scene by scene. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's really an investment. Sometimes, you'll get podcasts that'll just kind of take off a
Yeah.
few themes and let it be that. But it gets to be lengthy sometimes.
It
But
is.
you know, what else I got to do while I'm walking to and from work? You know,
Yeah, right.
that's
What are you
great.
gonna do? Right?
What else I got to do? I'm good.
Yeah. Like
So
it was definitely not intended. Like the episodes, I remember one listener had wrote in at one point where I think it was when I first had Rich on before he was a host, and me and him went for like a 2 hour episode, and it wasn't intentional, but it was just so many different things he was referencing and picking up. And it was like, and somebody wrote in and was like, "Hey man, the long format, I'm really digging this." And it's like,
yeah,
bro, we're not
it
trying to.
works.
We're trying to be an hour and a half. Like, and then after a while, we just knew it was like, okay, this is just how it goes. You know what I mean? At this point, because we couldn't do it a disservice, and it's progressively getting better. Like the Sopranos seasons just keep getting better and more enjoyable, and the investment level just grows. Because along just like you, I started it during the pandemic as well, or it may have been like right at like pandemic, like kind of post a little bit. I mean, 2021, I don't know how people count it, but somewhere around like late pandemic to 2021. But I started watching it along with Game of Thrones, and at first I was just a slow watch. I was watching it and doing stuff, but I found myself day after day getting more hooked and like not doing side things and just watching it on my phone. I'm like, yo, this is what's about to happen next. And it was so good. I had never watched a show back to back before, like a series. I would watch series once, and that'd be it. I just live with the memory. But this was the first show. That's how I knew it was going to end up being like my favorite show ever, because it was like I felt this desire to go back and watch it again. I was like, I missed something. I just know I missed something. And after that second watch, I was like, I was similar to you. I was like, man, I want to talk to somebody about this.
Yeah.
And of course, I listened to Michael Imperioli, Steve Sharippa, of course. I mean, I had to do due diligence, see what they were talking about, get those inside stories and interviews. But I still was like, yeah, but it's still not quite cracking what I'm looking for. And I was like, well, maybe I could start, maybe I could start this podcast. I'm like, but who am I going to do it with? And of course, y'all know that y'all can go listen to the origin story we did for one of the Back of the Bing episodes. But so yeah, I totally agree with you. Like just being like taking this on and just going through your day and just laughing about how silly and not knowing where the show was going to go. Our goal was to progressively grow in momentum similar to the show. Like as the show is growing, like the podcast wanted it to grow in momentum where it might get sillier or more intricate or more detailed, or just our momentum was growing where our show becomes a show. And I'm glad that you liked it, as well as all of the people that have participated in this. So
yeah, I mean, you even, you went ahead and made Rich a consistent member, right? Like that was a change. That
oh
was a
man,
growth. And
yeah,
that was a big one.
yeah,
And the funny thing is as a person who was a young adult before streaming was a thing, like people don't, the experience of being able to watch them back to back and season to season to season. Obviously you could do that with a VHS, but streaming, it just makes it so much easier. So, I don't think I would have ever considered just watching a whole show like that if I hadn't had that ability. So it really creates the conditions to
yeah,
where you can do this on a weekly basis. And it's not, I mean, I've done it before with like Succession and other things where you have to wait a week, and I don't think it's quite as good because there's so much pressure on the people to put it out really fast right after the episode is over because it's time sensitive.
yeah, yeah.
Whereas this, you can marinate in it. You've seen it a couple times
That's true.
already, and so it creates, I think I would almost say, like, some of my folks, I'd be curious to get them to go back to Succession and go back to some of these other shows and watch them
Yeah,
in
in the
that way.
full sequence.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it was I think it was, so congratulations on finishing that series.
thank you.
And obviously I'm enjoying No More Half Measures.
Yeah, okay. You came over. I didn't know. I don't know. I don't know if all of our good earners, all of them came over yet. Some of them are a little late to the party. I'm seeing some emails, so they're a little late. But I'm glad that you came over there.
And if you guys do Game of Thrones, I guess I will make myself do it, because I have to tell you, I've tried and tried with Game of Thrones and
I'm
never
gonna be
been
honest.
able. But we'll see. We'll
I'm
see
gonna
what
be.
happens next.
I'm gonna be honest, and this is not official. So y'all that are listening, like they're hanging on every word. This is not no official statement or anything like that. But I'm hoping, and we've spoke about it before on No More Half Measures. I kind of would like to do Sex in the City next. I think we talked about this off air too. I said, hey, listen,
Oh my God.
Like this is gonna
That
blow up
would be so
way
wild.
past good earners. Like, do you understand? And all three of us best like the show. So I was like, and I just finished it fully like a few days ago. And I was like, hey, listen to me. If
That
we
is so crazy.
I said
Because
we
that
yeah.
would be amazing because I don't think it's aged as well as The Sopranos has.
Oh yeah?
Like I think it's more, well, I gotta rewatch. Well, part of the problem is sometimes I see it. I should watch it on HBO.
Okay.
Sometimes I've seen the cable version, which is not as good, but
Mm.
ooh, yeah, just I mean, talk about talk about needing a new perspective. I mean, it's not quite as bad as Friends, but
No,
New York City, it doesn't
right.
look like that,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
what is happening there?
yeah,
But that is fascinating. I would listen, I would literally be on the edge of my seat. That would be the only reason I would rewatch Sex and the City also.
yeah.
So you heard it here first, everybody. Write
Hey,
down the date and time.
yeah, those two, Sex and the City, and like of course y'all heard it on here, like Seinfeld. Like I was really pushing for Seinfeld because I am a huge Seinfeld person, so I was pushing for it. But we did what made the most sense, which was going to Breaking Bad. Just all of the comparisons. But the third one that we pick, I think that this is going to be the one that's like probably the most unexpected. So I don't know what we'll do.
Yeah, you can take a little bit of a flyer, right?
Yeah,
You got
yeah.
two under your belt at that point, and yeah, well that is fascinating. Of all the things you were about to say, that is not. I would never have guessed that one. And obviously, I have a lot of thoughts about Sex and the City,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
but
it has a
that's neither
lot.
here nor there.
It has so many conversations that are like I think could be just so fun and intriguing, and then it would allow us to cover more because the episodes are so short.
Yeah,
So
you
we
might
could
even be able to do two in
two that
one.
exactly. That's
Yeah,
what I said.
yeah.
We could actually do two, split it up, or however, like release two a week or some kind of way. But it would allot us more like coverage and less time. So who knows?
That's interesting. Oh my God, back in the saddle with Big. Oh,
Oh man, Biggs.
some of
Listen,
that.
hey,
That's great.
I was glad Carrie left with Big though. As much some people I know, the people's not a big fan of Big, but I was happy that she left him because I didn't like that other dude, the Russian dude. Like I was like,
That series finale, I have to say, I thought was so perfect.
yeah.
When she opens her phone and she sees the name, and we have never seen the name. Okay, let's not go down the road
All
yet.
right,
We
you're
can
right.
have a
Sorry,
conversation.
we here. I know that.
Yeah.
Like, well, what are y'all going to talk about Sopranos?
Right.
But now that we're here, I know that you had sent the email and there was a little bit of conversations, but you were kind of more than the details of the email, which I know we normally read here. You were connecting with the Word to the Wise kind of series that I've been trying to mix up and add different things to the feed because we just got so many supporters. And you had kind of wrote in about like having a different perspective in the sense that maybe I was looking at things as kind of half empty and you were kind of looking at it more on a half full sense. And this was based off of the in at the end, I believe, the one that I did. So you want to
Yeah,
speak to
that's
that at
right.
all?
That
Like
was
just your connection
I
to.
was racking my brain like what was that original, then it was in at the end. Yeah, and it was funny because I had always taken that to mean that this sort of, because even in the 90s, those of us who can remember, there was this sense on the part of white men that, they were losing their complete grip on everything,
Hmm.
and therefore they were losing everything because obviously that's the same thing.
Hmm.
Um, and so I always kind of figured the in at the end was a metaphor for that,
Oh, okay.
because we, have in the 90s, it was called political correctness that everybody was against.
Hmm.
So it was a lot of the same conversations.
Hmm.
And I felt like, Tony basically saying, I can't get away with everything people could get away with back in the day.
Hmm.
Like, whatever happened to Gary Cooper,
Yeah.
all of that. And it was like, and it's, we could have different views on how legitimate those concerns are, but they were real concerns.
Yeah, no, I get
And
it. I get it. If I'm there, if I'm
right.
different in that sense, I get it.
Yeah, no, it's a
It
thing.
makes
It's a
sense.
loss.
Yeah, I get it.
And he feels in the series, he feels the loss very keenly, and everybody around him really does. I mean, I'll never forget when the two of the main sort of foot soldiers go into the coffee place.
Hmm.
The manager is just like, I don't really even know what to tell you. Like
Yeah, it's like, bro,
that's
we just not in those times. I like everything is digital. Like we can't.
Yeah.
that you can't roll over on us like that. Like it don't work
Yeah,
like that.
we're gonna get scanned within an inch of my life. Like if there's 25 cents missing, I'm gonna hear about it. You know, like
Yeah.
this is not how it's gonna work. And it just marched on. But yeah, it's very, I don't know. It's an amazing series on a number of levels. Let's just
Yeah.
say, I think we can definitely say that much.
And I know that I can be, and I mean, through many podcasts of people who follow me specifically, I know I could be apocalyptic to some degree a lot of times with things similar to that and what I spoke to on that Word to the Wise episode. Um, so I do understand that. And it's interesting. Like when you had said that, like, it's like, oh, I thought I was speaking to this. It does work in the sense of your context as well, because remember, like when he was upset about AJ in season 6, where he was just like, "Bro, like, what's your problem? You got the world by the balls," and then he's just like, "Hey, and you're white. That helps." Like,
Vouch
hey,
for
that's a
something. And
plus, you
for
know?
him even to admit that
Yeah,
was amazing, honestly.
yeah. No, it was,
Yeah.
and
And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
no, and I was gonna say it's funny because like we use it. I'm sure you probably heard the term code switching before.
Oh, sure, of
It's
course.
kind of it's obviously like a at work thing when you're not at work thing, whatever political correctness, so to speak. But like him doing that, but just a few seasons before saying like calling people Wonder Bread Wops. It's just like, oh no, we are Italian. You know what I mean? They are white. And so then being in the later season, like, okay, look, this is how we got to play it. Hey, plus he's a white dude, like that helps. So it's just funny the time and the shifting and how the Sopranos just covers things and the progression of things. Like you feel where it's going. We talked about it obviously with David Chase and how he made it feel like things were wrapping up, things were ending. We were just at the end of an era. So, but what were you going to say?
I was just recently listening to a different podcast talking about Italian American persecution at the turn of the century. And it was so intense that apparently they created Christopher Columbus holiday because Italy was threatening to declare war against the United States because so many of their people were being lynched. Okay.
Dang.
Yeah. I mean, obviously far fewer than African Americans, but it was still like, because this was a podcast about Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. Talking about them coming through their careers and talking about how Dean Martin, he started out as Dino something or other, not Martinelli or Martini, but a different
right.
But anyway,
right.
But he had a super Italian name. He didn't speak English until he got to school, basically kindergarten. He spoke Italian only at home until he got to kindergarten and learned English. Like he was a real hardcore Italian. And at that time, it was you had to hide that you were Italian in order to be in Hollywood. Frank Sinatra was one of the first people who didn't change his name. And they thought that was a mistake, that he was going to be relegated to whatever. So anyway, I just thought that was really interesting, and it gave me a little bit different perspective on Tony, because he could talk about Wonder Bread Wops because he was really trying to hold on to his connection to his culture. But one of the costs of whiteness is you usually have to give up that culture. So where Italians kind of have changed to become white, there's another scene late in the series where one of the New Yorkers is walking out of the Italian restaurant, and it's Little Italy, and he goes like 2 blocks and he's into Chinatown because Little Italy doesn't really exist anymore.
Right.
Because it's completely incorporated into the broader culture, more or less.
Yeah.
And so you pay the price of, you lose your culture when you come, and so they're sort of navigating that in the series, I think.
No,
it's really interesting.
They are actually, because you go back to an episode, I think season 2, I believe, Commendatory.
Oh yeah.
So you see the cultural shock of, you go over there, this is the motherland, this is the homeland, this is where the lineage begins. We're Italian, we just happen to be in the States, let's go over to our people. And then you get over there and their experience is just nothing like what they thought, where it's like, and here's how I look at it. I look at it like, it's like when you want to eat Mexican food, right? You're like, oh, I want some tacos and this, I want tacos and nachos and I want the authentic corn tortillas. Some people are like that. Then there's some people's like, well, I want Mexican food, but like I want it kind of American. I really want Taco Bell. say what you want to say. I want Taco Bell, and that kind of is what Commendatory reminds me of. Is like you think that you want authentic, this and this and that, but you don't like the toilets, and you don't like the spaghetti, and you don't like the gravy, and you don't like the politics of how they handle, young teenage boys because of how they protect people, and you don't like a woman boss, and all of this. You ready to get back to the States, so that is a very interesting thing. Just Sopranos again, like I said, my opinion, the greatest show ever. Just how they managed to cover these things, and it's just completely layered.
Yeah. And it's also, I think the other reason one other thought, a good example of one of the things you guys brought to the fore that I really enjoyed once I paid attention to it. What's the name of the guy that they bring over?
Furio.
What?
Furio.
Yes. How annoyed you all were with his arc.
And
where he could have gone
and
everything. And I was like, see, and I never even sweated that. I
mean, wow.
Yeah, I would never have, because that part of it. And then I think I did email you guys when you were like, because your whole thing about like nothing happened. And I was like, something happened. Something
yes.
did happen.
I remember that email. I do remember that email.
Yeah. I was really like, come on now. Something happened to Carmela. So anyway, but yeah, that was a great example of like, you bring him over and he is the hardest ass in the whole crew.
Oh man.
Because he's trained up in the realness of Italy.
Smoking cigarettes, making mozzarella, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he was not messing around. And then how furious he was, speaking of Christopher Columbus, he's like, we don't like Christopher Columbus because he looks down on us in Sicily.
Yeah, like, straight up. Spit on the ground, everything.
Everything is the same everywhere in the world.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and he's an enforcer. So it's like, bro, I brought him over to be an enforcer, and it's just, it worked out. But we enjoyed it. I mean, obviously for what he is, but it is like one of those things, just like, dang, like, it just make you wonder what it would have been like season 6 be getting into the war of it all. Like, where would Furio be in this? You know what I mean? It makes you curious. Like, Furio would have been getting busy in the war. Like, he would have been active. It make you wonder. Like, would he have switched on Tony? Like, this would have been an opportunity to, like, you know what I mean? Think about that. Like, I remember, because if he comes back, and he said, remember, if you want his wife, you got to take him out.
Right.
No.
If he were still there, it would have to be that he had never had that storyline with Carmela. I thought you meant like if he had never been diverted.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, you're right. Well, I guess it's like play it two ways. If he was in the war throughout the whole thing, he stays.
Back after
no, you're right.
After Carmela admitted it in Whitecaps, one of the best episodes.
Yes, absolutely. Season 4 finale. You wanted to come. You have alluded a lot of times, and I wanted to acknowledge this too. I appreciate your humor. So I think one of our listeners that wrote in, I believe her name is Ashley. I always for some reason mess her name up, and she always has to remind me. But she had wrote in one time, and she was like, I think she's like mixed or something like that, or if she's mixed or she's married to her husband's wife or something like that. But you had responded, but it wasn't like to you. You just responded within your normal email. You say, hey, well, basic white girl here, and wrote in, and I said, wow. I said the humor on this lady, like I could appreciate, because that's why I say, okay, these are the type of listeners we want that are able to rag on themselves, like the way because we rag on ourselves all the time, and so just you being able to be in on the joke is like, it's amazing. Like I like that idea. So that was something that always stuck with me. Where I was like, oh, Monica's cool. Like she's cool. Yeah. So I wanted to bring that in, but you have always you've. I don't think you've been biased, but I think you've been pretty objective. But you've always had this kind of special place in your heart for Carmela. And even after our reviewing 86 episodes of The Sopranos, obviously, which I kind of opened up a lot of other things, you still kind of it seemed like you still have the same stance with Carmela. Like, and what is your stance exactly with Carmela before we kind of get into Cold Stone?
Yeah. So I think it's funny too, because when I started watching this show in real time back in the day, I was kind of in between the ages of their daughter, Meadow, and Carmela. So I sort of related to both of them, but I was, right kind of equidistant between each. And then, of course, as time has gone by, I'm now older than Carmela, which is completely unacceptable. And I'm not okay with it at all. But so part of it was when I rewatched it and you guys were breaking it down, I was more Carmela's age. My kids were older and everything like that. So I think the main thing is I just appreciate Carmela. I mean, she is problematic on all kinds of levels.
Yeah.
But she's a very interesting character. I think I'm sort of more attuned to kind of how she's feeling and how she's evolving as a character, because she's closer to my lived experience, and I can be, I can relate to some of her feelings. I'm a professional person, so I don't have that same thing of most of my self-image comes from being somebody's wife, somebody's mother, keeping a good home. Which she does an amazing job at, and that's not an easy job.
No.
Having stayed at home with my kids for a little while, I could say it's very, very hard job.
Yeah.
But it's when I went back and looked at Cold Stones, I went back, listened to the podcast episode about it. One of the things that really struck me was how she has changed from the early days of the series, because if you remember, like maybe it's the pilot or the second episode, where Tony confesses that he's seeing a therapist.
Yeah, that's pilot.
She's like, oh my God, that's so great. It's not spiritual growth. That's another thing, but this is so great. We forget, by the end of the series, we forget how invested she is in the idea that Tony is going to become a better Catholic, more whatever. By the time she goes to France, that window is so closed.
Oh, yes.
She's very, in some ways she's reconciled. I don't think she is reconciled. I think she continues to have a conflict within herself about not only how they make their living, which Rosalie is way past that.
Oh man.
Talk about one of the funny things. Whenever we start talking about the episode, we can talk more about that one. But yeah, I think I'm more emotionally connected with Carmela because some of her lived experience, my lived experience. And so even though I see all of the, a lot of problematic things about her as a character, it's interesting to me how she grows. And I just don't think she's as interesting to you guys as Tony is.
Yeah. I mean,
like she doesn't have to be, right?
But she is one of the most interesting characters on this show. Like yes, it never was. And even in our Cold Stone review, because I can kind of remember, I didn't go back. I watched the episode, but I didn't go back and listen to our review. I do remember us not being so keen on her travels over there, which obviously I know, we've always said on the show, which if y'all listen to No More Half Measures, well, y'all hear this episode that comes out today as well as this one, where like there was such a reach where I was trying to be deep and they was just like, bro, like Stretch Armstrong over here. Like they was just like, stop. So, we always talk about like not being this overly deep show, but every once in a while we have these moments, we crack a code. But so I guess we knew there was something more there in what David Chase was trying to get accomplished in the episode, but it was just, it was our progression with our relationship as a viewer with Carmela after this is the point that, pretty much they've made up and they've made a deal like, hey, listen, I'm gonna put this money on the spec house. You come back home. We get things back. We got an understanding. Like it ain't really love at this point. It's familiarity. It's comfort, and this is what we're doing. So it always just feel like Carmela, and this is what our issue was. It's not so much about interesting. Our issue is always is like it just never seems like there's this acknowledgement that like you're shitty too. Like she's
pretending to be somebody she's not. Yeah,
and that's always the thing.
Like butter doesn't melt in her mouth. Like that's yeah.
And that's all it ever is like we know Tony does this too. Like he told Melfi to her face, like I'm a devoted Catholic. Like he said he was talking about
that has something to do with something.
Like he was talking about the terriblest things. Like hey, don't forget now. I'm like, and then he was talking about his cousin Tony Blundetto. Was like they blew my cousin's face away. And I'm filled with grief. Like you blew his face away. Like, so it's like, don't get it wrong. Like Tony does this thing where he tries to be holier than thou. Even in this episode, we see like dealing with Vito, like the back and forth situation of like how to process that. But there is these moments, and I always talk about that even on No More Half Measures with the Walter White. It's like when we don't have these opportunities to see somebody's internal thinking, it is a challenge, which they don't owe us that as directors, writers, producers. They don't owe us the exposure of the character's internal thinking. They don't owe us that. We were privileged to get that with Tony and Melfi, but they don't owe us
Mm-hmm.
that. But it does, if it's done right, it gives a tremendous amount of insight and connection to the characters. So we don't get a whole lot of that with her, and even when she's dealing with her friends, with Ro and I can't remember Silvio's wife's name. What is it?
Oh yeah.
Well, Mrs. Dante.
Gabby.
Gabby,
Gabby.
there it is, Gabby.
Yeah.
Gab. So that's always been the issue with us with her. It isn't that it's she believes differently about herself than what she is, and then she never has a moment to say, okay, this is who I am. And
Yeah.
that,
Well,
yeah.
she puts off that air. But
Hmm.
that's the thing. I think so should we kind of
Yeah.
transition to the episode itself?
Yep. Go ahead, wherever you
Okay,
want to
because
go. Or
well, I was
what
just gonna
brought you to this as the conversation?
so that's so funny. When I rewatched it and listened to the episode again, y'all's episode, I was like, wow, like I really picked one of their least favorites. And it really was, I mean, it comes down, I think, to it stands out in my mind because this is really cheesy, but I spent my junior year in France. So
Ah.
I have a warm spot in my heart for France, and it was fun to me to see. I'm not a huge Paris fan. I like other parts of France better,
Hmm.
but just seeing like the whole thing, I liked it. And I really, really connected with um, Carmela's observation, which you guys did connect with in the episode. The one thing that you really kind of liked about it was when, she's in the Roman baths and she's like, we worry all the time about what's going on, and in the end, it all gets washed away. And I think that's, impermanence is a big part of life, and learning to, get your brain around it
Hmm.
is a really big challenge for everyone in their
Yeah.
lives. And that part where I was like, you've almost got it. It's like, yes, it's all gets washed away. So stop, stop with the worrying, stop with the controlling. I
Mm.
mean, she goes to France. She's having kind of a, what do you call it? What do you call those crises?
Like an
Um,
existential or
she's having an
midlife.
existential crisis, right? Because, AJ's a lying bastard or whatever, because he lost his job at Blockbuster, and
Hmm.
Meadows going to chase a boy, and she can't even say she loves her husband after
That
noticing
and
that
you
she
remember we
doesn't.
harped on that. I know I ain't listened, but I know we harped on that. Like I should
That
say
is
that more. That is the
crazy.
craziest thing I ever seen on this show.
That was, I mean,
I told
she's
you I love you when you couldn't hear me tell you. How crazy is that?
and then she says, I always feel like I should say it more, and he's like, well, nothing's stopping you,
And
and
she
she
still
still
doesn't.
does it.
Yes,
While you fly to another country.
bruh.
I mean, you're not guaranteed, as we learned
Yeah,
from Bobby Bacala, you're not guaranteed to come home from the grocery store, and you're flying to another country where you're not going to be around each other for a week, and you don't say you love the person that you are married to on your way out the door. That is wild
yeah,
stuff.
it
So
is.
anyway, so she's in a weird place, right? And then she goes there, and I also could really relate to this, where she's like, I didn't know anything about these people. We don't exist to these people. And then we'll leave and we'll come back, and then they'll keep doing their thing, and we don't know about them and they don't know about us. And having spent a year, during college in France, and then coming back, and everybody kept living their lives. Like,
Hmm.
what? No, you guys are supposed to be frozen in time over here while I go to my French thing and I come back and
Yeah,
nothing's changed. No, that's not how it works. And so I know exactly what she's talking about. So I think it was just, just loving the idea of her being in France. I was so bummed to hear that Edie Falco was sick at the
I
time.
know. I know.
It was
Yeah,
so sad.
I know. I wish you could have enjoyed it more for them to be able to flex with the finances like that, like they did with the, obviously Commander Tory, like to be able to do that for her, and she couldn't enjoy it. Like I was bummed about it
Yeah.
too.
And once
Uh,
I knew about that, and I was like, yeah, she does look sick. Like her nose is red, and
yeah, and
she's
she really pulled through, like because you wouldn't know if you didn't get that information. You're just thinking like it's cold out there, and
right,
this is what it
right.
is.
That's what I thought. But yeah, so I like it because I love the French. I love the French part, and then I love that she's kind of taken out of her regular life where she's rushing around and has all her day-to-day stuff. And that happens on vacation, right? Like you
Hmm.
you get taken out of your everyday life, and especially if you don't have kids to chase or whatever, and you're just sitting back and enjoying, like all of a sudden all these big thoughts come out.
Yeah.
So I really liked that.
I'll say what I think, and I didn't listen back at our episode, but looking at it this time, like I had having to not like watch this in like sequence, but treat it as a standalone, it does change like a little bit of your viewing and kind of enjoyment. Watching it as a standalone, what I could appreciate is I think what they were, I don't know if they were trying to do or what just the character of Carmela was trying to do, but it seems that for me, more than anything, all of these hopes and dreams and ideas that she's had over the years while being with Tony, I think this was like kind of a time stamp to the realization that because she's coming back from like obviously stepping out, sleeping with AJ's teacher, trying to be like a divorcee, separated or whatever, trying to create a life for herself, and she used the only weapon she had. and you know that didn't work out. That got real messy, and you know then she's trying to do a bunch of other things, and nothing's really. She don't really have the skill set because all she really knows is the life, and like basically going off of Tony's finances because that's just how it's always been set up. So coming back and now her and them two are together and she's trying to get the spec house because it seems that she just needs this thing to validate that she's capable of something outside of Tony, even though the spoiler alert, like obviously without the finances, it doesn't happen, or without Seal leaning on, you know, the person to look at the house is not going to happen. So, but it's just what she needed for herself. So when she goes to France, it seems like it's just time stamped to realize it's like, man, these people were doing stuff, all this curiosity of what people were about, what were they doing. And I mean, of course, there's obviously her comparing herself to them, like this is greatness. I'm a part of this great line of women or something. You know, I think they were trying to give us that type of thing, or at least her thinking. But I think looking at it is it's just time saying like, yo, life still goes on. These people you once were doing this, these people were once doing that, and it's going to go on. And you know, it could be some alluding to if some people believe Tony died, then they're showing you right here like life is still going to go on for Carmela. You know, so it could be. I don't know. I never thought about it till now, but it could be something like that. So
yeah, and so one of the interesting, and the other thing is, yeah, what is the meaning of life, is the meaning of the life that she has led now that her kids are leaving her relationship. Maybe one of them isn't leaving fast enough in terms of AJ, but anyway,
boy,
what, you know, her relationship is transactional. I think there is some love there, but obviously, I mean, you don't react the way she reacted to him being shot if you don't love somebody. Like, I think she does care about him, but it's not, you know, it's not a love match. I don't know if I would think that they would get married today, knowing how they felt about each other right now. So anyways, but so it's a somewhat transactional relationship. She's already also had that conversation with Melfi's mentor, where the shrink reads her the riot act and is basically like, you know, you need the reason that you feel like hell is because you know that your life is paid for by violence and crime
and blood money.
You need to stop doing that and then you'll feel better.
And
she's just like, no, I don't think so. You know, so she's rejected that as an alternative. And so she's like, what is the meaning of my life here? And one of the interesting things that I'm going to show off my French a little bit, when one of the first scenes in France, not the one when they're in the taxi, but the next one when Ro lights the candles, she's walking down the aisle and there's a French guy talking to a bunch of kids. And he's speaking French, and they don't translate it in the captions. I don't think we're intended to know what he's saying. But what he's saying is, what is the point? What does it serve to believe in God? What is it like? What is it for? Kind of thing. Like, what is the use of believing in God? You know, it's not like a car that takes you to and from school. Like, why do we believe in God? And then he trails off. And there was one other sentence, but I really couldn't pick it up. And so, you know, here's Carmela, who's this observant Catholic, but a lot of things in her life have turned out in ways she doesn't like. And it's like, what does it serve to believe in God? Like, what has it done for you? You know? And at the end, when she says it all just washes away, like how different is that from what is it that AJ says that she hates so much? It's all a big nothing.
All a big
Like
nothing. Yeah.
how much different is that?
Yeah.
So but the thing about religion is it gives you black and white, and it gives you a set of rules to live by.
Hmm.
And what she's discovered is like a lot of those rules didn't work as well for her as she thought they would.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's all a big nothing. And that's a lot of ambiguity to sit with if
Yes.
you're used to being like, I want to get my kids to here and I want to get my and it's like, yes. And so like go all the way into that, sweetie, and let it go. Like,
Hmm.
let go of that feeling of you have to control it and you have to keep it all together because you can't.
Hmm.
Anyway, sorry.
No, no, no. I think Carmela Soprano is at a point in her life where, like, she's used to, like, the streets are the streets. Like, Tony, he says, "Don't make me make you an accessory after the fact." She knows like how it gets, and Tony had even been shot prior. You know what I mean? He even got, in the earlier season and, fighting for his life. And so, but this was the most severe, opening up season 6A. So, I still go by A and B, but opening up, her seeing him in a coma. And then obviously she brings up the question that he says, who am I? Where am I going? And so she was definitely in her feelings about, like, what does this all mean? What do I take from this? Because you had talked about Melfi's, what did you call him?
Mentor, I think
Mentor.
was
Yeah, her
one
mentor,
of her professors.
which she utilized him, even like we talked about, like the Nigerian therapist. I don't know if he's Nigerian, but that's what we call him. She kind of utilizes, I feel like, connecting to her Catholic roots of, I'm gonna treat these as confessionals because now by law you can't,
Yeah.
you can't say anything. There's no confusion on when I need to express, like, oh, my kids, my babies. Like, she could utilize these in a sense, but she's asking great questions when she's over in France. And I didn't mind, and I even in the episode, I believe, like, it didn't bother me, and I didn't mind where she was coming from, because I mean, again, you just witnessed your husband almost dying. He said, Tony's my guy. He's always been my guy, and how she's looked at him. And then, like, what does this all mean? And of course, later in the season, we get to, like, this constant, like, feeling like there's a piano about to drop and her is concerned. So she's asking the right questions and needing to know the things that she needs to know. So I feel where she's coming from. It's just, I don't think she knew it would affect her that way. And Ro, being a cool home girl that she is, the ride or die, she's just like, hey, listen, like, because that's a tradition, that's a classic thing, right? Where you are so emotional about, like, your observation and the things that you're seeing and what you've went through, talking to the person that has been through tremendously more. Like, that is a classic trope, but it imitates life because people do it all the time. There's always the friend talking to the other friend as if that friend hadn't gone through the worst of, and she's like, bro, she lost her husband and her son, and so, y'all know how we spoke about her on the show. We just love Ro. Like, she's just such a real, we just connect with her, like, spirit and identity. Like, it's just, she's so familiar. And so,
Well, the thing about Ro, so a couple thoughts about that is Ro is kind of the piano is already dropped on Ro's head.
yeah,
Like,
okay.
Ro has been through it and she's come out the other side and she knows her own strength. I feel like she has also, I don't think she's just not as conflicted about the mafia thing as Carmela is. Carmela makes it sound like she's fine with it, or she accepts her car with delight, when she gets that Porsche SUV, which has got to be, oh, that was just like such a sign when he gave her that.
Yeah, like, come on, man.
Anyway, but I think, Ro is just, there's a saying, I actually brought it here, but I didn't find it in time. One of my favorite authors is Joan Didion, and she has a essay called On Self-Respect. And there's one part where I think she's actually quoting The Great Gatsby, but she's talking about this character who says she took her own measure, made her own peace, avoided threats to that peace. And it really reminds me of Ro, because Ro is like, you know what? Yeah, you know, this is it. I threw my lot in with a gangster, and I've gotten the good on that, the good parts of that, and I have paid the price, and I'm good. I'm going to enjoy what I've got to enjoy. And I don't want to hear all of this yap, 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 because you haven't been able to make your peace with
Yeah.
your life. That's not my problem. Don't do it on your own time, and stop bringing me down. And
Yeah,
yeah,
no.
two people are very different places.
Yeah, I mean, and it, you know, everybody has those friends or family members, but more so friends where it's like they haven't really been through it yet.
Yeah.
You know, you're at two different phases of life where it's like, oh, I've dealt with loss and I've dealt with heartbreak and breakups and pain and real challenges, and you hadn't quite got there. So you're hyper obsessing about what is it going to be like, and I've already been there,
Right.
and that's what it is, like you said, like, and there's this conflicting thing because she hasn't really lost a lot. The most was really just her and Tony breaking up or taking a, you know, separation, but she hadn't lost a lot. And the most she had been through, at least in other than like Tony being shot before this, was just you know, Irina calling the house. You know what I mean? And it was just like, oh, okay, it's real beat, but it's like you already knew this.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and the thing of it is she takes away the wrong thing to me, is that, and maybe this is my glass half full part, because it's
okay.
like, again, like you said, like you guys said, and one of the things you pointed out in the episode was that AJ, when they're yelling at him for what he was doing a very low key version of what Tony does.
Mhm.
and he had tried to do other things. He had shown a lot more initiative and do, you know, whatever in other areas that they had also shut down. So it's very controlling, very like, you have to be this kind of person. And then with Meadow, yes, she's following this dude to California for reasons that escape all of us. Because
Right.
what?
Ben.
But he and Flynn, or whatever his name is, were already on the outs by that time. So she's right about that. It's dumb, but so what? Like, she's gonna go, you know, work in a lab, and, you know, it's not like she's, you know, doing anything so crazy. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, you still have, and you can't, you're not saying you love you to your husband. You still have your kids. You still have your husband. Like, yes, those things are under threat always. All of our people are always under threat, whether we acknowledge it or not. But enjoy them while you have them. That should be the lesson of watching her light those candles. It should not be like, try to hold on as hard as you can and stress out about it all the time. It should be, I'm going to enjoy it while it's here, because I don't know how long it will last. But she can't do that.
Yeah, yeah, it is like I said, she's. I mean, and again, what? Well, let me sidebar for a second. What's your favorite season?
Oh gosh, I can't really say.
Okay,
I don't
that's fair. That's
know
fair.
them back and forth like you guys do.
Okay, no doubt, no doubt. I always, the only way I can remember the seasons is the association of when we introduce the characters. That's the only way I remember.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I know season 2 we get Richie April. I think.
Oh yeah.
You know, season 3 we
Janice, right? Doesn't Janice?
yeah, and Janice and Richie. Season 3 we get Jackie Jr. and then back half we get Ralph, which it's weird because Ralph is brought in middle of 3, took it out. I mean, you know, middle of 4 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So he's like a weird floater, but like I always look at season 3, we get that, and then, you know, season 4 we finish Ralph, and then 5 we get Tony Blundetto. You know, and then 6.
Your favorite.
Oh man, I know. I probably OD'd on my point of just not believing him. Like I know that I harped on that so much, but yeah. I mean, you know, shout out to
Furio's rolling through there.
Furio's season.
That's the thing. He's a
season 2. I think after Commendatory we get Furio, but he really picks up in 3.
All right.
Yeah, but
yeah, I don't really, from that point of view, you know, I kind of have my high points more than my seasons. So like, I love when Janice shoots what's his name for hitting her. That's like, I just love that. So
that's like, yeah, that was real good.
It's such a good, yes. Thank you, God.
White satin armor.
It was great.
Yeah, no, it was.
And I love the ending. I feel like I completely get which one is it? David Chase is this one, right?
Yeah, David Chase. Yes.
Okay, as opposed to David Simon. Like,
right.
Why you have 2 dudes named Chase and Simon? These
Right,
parallel
exactly.
roles. It's really
Yeah.
crazy making. Anyway, so David Chase, I totally get him where it's like the point is it could go either way. You don't know. Like, they spend so much time on Meadow trying to parallel park. And I kind of feel like, yeah, this is life. Life is you can't fit your car into a parallel parking spot and you're going to go in and have dinner with your family. And who the hell knows what's going to happen at any given instant.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that is to me that was like more profound than having something spin out like the way most series end in a more kind of thoughtful, like tying up the strings kind of things,
Yeah.
like the end of Mad Men where Don, which I don't think you guys have ever even talked about Mad Men.
No, that was in the run, and people were definitely voting in. And I started the first episode, but I didn't get.
Oh. You're not, what are you saying? You're not actually in a bar right now? Is that what you're saying?
Ain't no kids in the bar, no kids in the bean.
Well, and we've been talking for a while, so I should probably let you go and enjoy your family. I don't want to take away from.
Oh no, you're fine. We can okay. So before we get out of here, I'm glad that you brought up the episode, and this is obviously there's a whole lot that happens in the episode of Cold Stone, but obviously the focal point was Carmela being the focus, and that's the episode that you kind of wanted to draw in the psyche of her and kind of us appreciating or maybe getting a second look at how we look at her interest as a character and who she is. Is there anything that you've always wondered about in regards to like Good Earners, or any questions or any things you want to bring you've listened over obviously and went back and now you're following us on the other show, any conversation, anything that you always like, I really wanted to ask y'all or any just curious questions about characters or plots or.
Oh my gosh, that is a wide open question, and my brain is collapsing under it.
That's okay. No pressure.
Because I guess, and I'm sure I could have thought of something if I thought of something in advance, but I would just make the observation that you guys have an insight in perceiving the flow and where things are going and how particular characters work in the show that I find really compelling and interesting and different than most podcasts that I listen to. And I listened to an amazing podcast about Succession when I was watching Succession because I'm late to Succession. And, these are people who do go into like breaking down every little thing.
Yeah.
But I kind of prefer the character focus and the plot focus and kind of how things are going. So I'll just, rather than ask a question, I'll just conclude by saying I will listen to you guys talk about any show you want.
Oh man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, keep up the amazing work.
Well, thank you. That is definitely our intent, is just, we'll go there for as much as we can, but not go overly, because then, like you said, it's just like, all right, like now we're focusing too much on colors, we're focusing too much on artwork and paintings and authors from, so I appreciate that, we happen to be your type of flavor for your palate, so
and just you make me see things differently. And I mean, like one of my favorite, Roycast is the name of the Succession podcast that I love.
Oh, okay.
And they were, they're very into like the way this shot is blocked and the way da 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 and all this. And I'm like, I'm not a film student, like none of that means anything to me. Like I love that it looks good. And I appreciate, like, well, they'll point out, as you guys will, like little things like, oh, it was 18 months with Succession is wild. It was 18 months between the pilot and the second thing because it wasn't get picked up for so long. So like after, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So they give little insights like that are useful, but there's a lot of like, I don't know, too much for me.
I've listened to, and I've spoke about, if y'all go back and listen to our pilot episode of Good Earners, when it was just me and Spike, I acknowledged a few of the other Soprano podcasts I like, and one of them particularly, they do a lot of that, and it's like I can listen to it now because we've done it, and so I'm looking for maybe things that we didn't cover and we didn't look at, and I got patience for it. But like at the time before we did it, I was just like, we just try to treat we try to make sure if we're going to bring up something, make it significant. Like, I mean, everything obviously the show is significant, especially Sopranos. But like, if it's not going to change a whole lot, then let's, you know what I mean? Let's just kind of scrap it unless you felt the need to bring this. That's what we tried to do, and I'm glad that for the most part it wasn't just a bunch of jargon, extra stuff just to sound very intelligent and super on top of because what happened was we were going in at a direction initially, like me and Spike were like, because I've heard so many, I was like, okay, we got to do our due diligence. We are the first Black Soprano podcast, and we don't want to come out sounding ignorant and dumb and too silly. But after we got to going and we were still hitting all the spots regardless, I was like, I literally just dropped that whole idea. Like Spike wanted to do the pilot again. I said, no, are you kidding me? No, we killed that. Like he was like, you want to do it again? I was like, no, that's it. And so, but like I said, after a while, I stopped caring about like trying to be this overly deep, expressive, like catch every single thing. I'm happy we caught as much as we did, but I know we obviously missed things still, and there's other podcasts for that. But we just tried to catch everything, but not put so much focus on it. Like we're trying to sound. That's why it blows our mind when the school teacher, Mrs. Gwinnett, would hit us with the like, you know, somebody hit us on No More Half Measures in that way. Like, hey, y'all teaching the class again. It was like, bro, we're not even trying to do all that, bro. We literally just covering the scenes, being funny, being introspective in a sense where we can connect and give an honest opinion. But people just, I guess they just really connect with it. And it's like, we, you know, just having a good time.
Don't misunderestimate.
I'm starting to understand a little bit more. Don't miss.
That was one of those words that W made up. But it's so good that we have to use it. Misunderestimate.
Don't
wasn't a word until he
underestimate. I like that.
Underestimate. So it's like not just underestimate, but even more. So yeah. Anyway, I don't know, but yeah, no. It's just been a real pleasure being able to be on the journey with you guys during The Sopranos and really loving No More Half Measures. And I actually really love the intro because I think I emailed when I finally did get to that. I had never really gone through, I'm not really a big Breaking Bad person. And I had never watched the whole series. But once I got started, I had to finish it up. I mean, there was no, I wasn't going to wait for you guys.
You went all the way through?
Oh, sure. No, and Dan and I are rewatching Better Call Saul now. We're
oh, wow. Y'all are really cooking.
Yeah. We're way ahead. Yeah, no, I have to go back and rewatch the episode and I have to do a rewatch so I can remember it for you guys. But in any event, one of the things I think is so great about the name is No More Half Measures. I mean, is what life feels like a series of half measures, doesn't it? Like you can never really have a full measure.
Yeah.
Like, and so it's like, it's such an amazing idea that like, wait, you can, you know, there's people who live their lives with not having any half measures. Yeah. Who are those people?
Yeah, and that definitely is not us. Like, obviously, that's the
I gotta live in the world.
Yes, and listen, I think I don't know if we told, but our original name for the podcast, like them two was gun ho about it. I think I'll share it here because it's obviously not gonna change. But they wanted to call it "You're a Drug Dealer," a Breaking Bad podcast, because this is obviously a Skylar White statement when she said, "Walt, you're a drug dealer." And I was like, I told them I cannot get behind that title. It's like, it's the podcast, it's catchy. I'm telling you, they were trying to sell it. And I was like, hey, listen, I will gladly step away because I will not.
You put your foot down.
I told them, I said, I can't do it. Like, I gotta stand on where I stand. I get the wit. I do. I get the witty, it's the clever, but I was like, that is too far for me. And the joke in every episode announcing that as the title, and I was like, I can't do it, you know. And so eventually,
I think it's kind of confusing. I think it would be confusing as a title. No More Half Measures. I mean, it was confusing to me until I mean, I heard the clip obviously, but until I saw it in context, it was a little like, what? But I need to be patient, and I got that.
Yeah, it almost ended up being Good Burners.
Oh, no, that would that would have been
Good Burners.
But, yeah. But I'm just waiting to find out what you're actually going to call.
Oh, yeah, what we could do? Well, yeah, and I did, I did, like, it came down to the wire, not literally the show The Wire, but down to the wire between the two. I actually
Mm-hmm.
created artwork for both podcasts. That's how
Wow.
close it was. And I have a name for the Game of Thrones one. Like that's how close it was. And we was back and forth, and then we finally deliberated and said we just thought that made the most sense, and we felt comfortable enough to be able to properly cover it. Because when you start getting into Game of Thrones, I think we got to reach so many series of like experience to cover something that broad, so that we're doing our due diligence,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it'll still be, actually, I think it'll make it more palatable for people to watch. Because it when we do it, it's like, okay, these guys are taking this complicated concept of all these different players in the game, and they're bringing it together, and it's making it more palatable. I think we'll do that, but I don't think all of us thought that we were just ready just yet to jump from Sopranos to that. It was the concept a
That
little
is
more
a,
broad.
yeah, that is a lot. Like I said, I have every confidence in y'all. I'm sure it'll be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're the only people who can make me watch that again.
All
I
right.
didn't even get that far. I feel like I've seen the first season, and I'm just like, it's just not my cup of tea. But like I said,
Yeah.
but I can see how you guys, with the way that you put things together, could make it flow and make it
Hmm.
click in a
Yeah.
way that it doesn't click for me just watching it on my
We
own.
we've
So
shared
we'll
funny
see.
bit. We shared funny bits in the text message of like, yo, how funny would it be if we talk about like, yo, Cersei, her brother, and like just like there's already bits in my mind set up for like how this would work, and people be like, yo, they are crazy. So
Yeah,
but
I remember enough about it to know that it's a lot. Yeah,
yeah, it is.
there's a lot there to work with. A lot
But
there to work with.
it is something like, if you ever do get a chance, since you say you just kind of blew through Breaking Bad, if you ever do get a chance, I would say just hang in there, because that I was like that, and I kept watching it, and something like Breaking Bad is slow. Hang in there, and then before you know it, you're like, okay, now it's picking up. Now I'm starting to understand, because you start seeing the different uh characters in their land all more often, and then you're like, oh,
Right.
okay, this is the Night's Watch, and this is the. But at first, it's like, bro, how many people, and who is this, and what are they talking about?
I need a
But
map. Like
yeah,
if I need a
yeah,
map to watch a show, I just don't know.
yeah. No, it starts off like that, but they close in real nicely.
Yeah.
Where you start now, you're like, okay, oh, this is standards from over here. Oh, this is, yeah, it closes really nicely. So if you
And
ever,
my kids love it. My kids love it, and that's a good sign usually.
yeah, yeah.
Although they refuse to watch, they still haven't gotten them to watch Sopranos.
I don't know if it's a
I
good
know.
sign. If y'all ain't watched
Eventually,
Sopranos, but no,
they'll get mature enough to get it eventually,
yeah.
and then they can listen to the podcast.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm a closing note, because I don't want to hold you up. I know you got family as well. Just to come back to what we were just talking about with Cold Stone, in Sopranos, what I appreciate, and I've talked about it all the time, like my favorite aspect is the family, as far as the home life of Tony Soprano. And what I appreciate with Tony and Carmela, especially in this episode, and particularly going into season 6, and I didn't really talk to the finale and what you spoke of. I do appreciate the complexity of their relationship, where it's so realistic that people, like, sometimes, like, just seeing it's like it's not always sexy all the time, you know.
Right,
And when you see in a marriage or in a friendship or in a relationship, it's not sexy all the time. It's
no,
sometimes it's these mundane things. It's these, okay, I got to go get the Louis V bag and put some cash in here. I got to let her go on the trip. I got to watch over the son. How about I speak about the fact that I hate my son? I'm frustrated. I'm full of grief. Sometimes you have to do this, but I respect it. Like, that's why, and obviously, no more half measures. People listen over there. It's like, that's why I have such a disconnect with them versus this is like, and again, I'm not Italian, obviously, but the connection to the realism of how they operate in their marriage and their family aspects, and just figuring it out. And sometimes you just got to do the thing. And
yeah,
I like that about the show so much.
I agree. I think that, that was to me, the innovation of the show was
Mhm.
that it wasn't just a mafia show. It was a show that also showed him as trying to be a good father, trying to be a good husband, while also, and just the juxtaposition. The most famous version of which is probably College,
Oh man,
where, which,
yeah,
that it just what a banger idea. Like, it just,
yeah,
you're out there taking your kid on a college visiting trip, and you're choking out oh, anyway, it was
incredible.
incredible insight to create it, and then incredibly well executed.
Yeah.
And a lot of times shows have one or the other.
Yep.
Like, you know, I mean, and Breaking Bad's another example of how I do think it's also an amazing idea that's well executed,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't have the same heart to me.
No, the heart is not. Mm-mm.
It's just, you know, honestly, I think Better Call Saul, I understand now why people like Better Call Saul at least as much,
Mm-hmm.
because there is a little bit more heart
Yep.
to Saul or Jimmy or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And so, and then I had someone compare me to Kim the other day, which I didn't know whether, like, and she clarified that that was a compliment.
That's
So
not
I was
bad.
like, I'm
Hey,
not sure.
that's
It's
not
a little up
bad.
in the
Hey,
air.
listen, Kim Wexler is, hey, she get it done. Like,
That's
hey,
right.
she's a
She's not
very
one to fuck around with.
and she's a very complex character too.
She
Very
is.
complex.
She could hardly be more tightly wound. So I'm
Yes.
hoping that that is a way in which I am slightly different from her.
Well, how far
But
are
I
you?
think
Have
it was
you finished it yet, or
no.
okay? So this your first time watching it?
Yes.
Okay, well, yeah. Just hit us up, at some point. And you can just, put the emphasis. Don't read on air. I'll read it and I'll check it out and see where you at with it. You know what I mean? Or a DM or whatever. I'll check and see where you at because I'm interested to see her arc and see what you think about her at the end of Better Call Saul.
I am super curious because I mean, part of the other thing that's amazing about that show is that we've seen Breaking Bad, so we know that he doesn't stay Jimmy McGill. And that Saul Goodman takes on life of his own, and there's no Kim Wexler in Breaking Bad. So, it's like that kind of thing that's hanging over the whole show is the fact that something about where it's going.
Yeah, but what season are you
on? She just crashed her car. So I think we're in 3, maybe the end of 3,
okay. All
beginning
right.
of 4.
Okay, yeah. So you're getting there, but like that's what makes it even better because it's like all that, and they still got you on your toes. Like they got you like, what's going to happen? Like, yeah, I could go into more, but I ain't gonna spoil anything for
No,
you.
yes, don't you dare.
I will.
No, but when he names himself Saul Goodman, the first we've heard that name already, and it's like it's Saul Good, man.
It's all
like,
good,
what?
man. It's like that makes perfect sense.
Crazy. And how did I not see that before?
Yep.
Anyway, so
what a reveal! Like
it's so much. It's it's great to have these pieces of art that are so easily available and fun to unpack and just great stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Monica, for joining me on this new series. And again, I'm gonna try to. Yeah, it's a lot of work because I'm doing other stuff. I want to try to keep doing the other stuff, the word to the wise and the best decision made. But this is a new one. It's lowest form of conversation. So yeah, hopefully.
I really just I'm loving that name.
Yes. That's we're gonna stay tied into the Sopranos. That's what we do. So, again, like y'all see, Monica's a supporter of ours, and she came through and provided so much interest and perspective. Again, y'all listeners, and I mean, you can't just pop up and be like, I want to be on the show. Let me preface that as we close out. But if you have been a true supporter of ours, like we've seen you multiple times writing in, commenting, and you want to be a part of the show and want to have one of these lowest form of conversation episodes, and you pick an episode and pick a character you want to specifically speak to by any means. Monica came through, she emailed, and I doubled down, said, hey, yeah, I want to have you on the show. And she picked Cold Stone and wanted to speak to Carmela, and justice for Carmela. So
there you go. Let's appreciate her art.
Yeah, awesome. You're right. We need to do better. We got to definitely appreciate Carmela if she walked so Skylar could run. So we gotta appreciate Carmela.
That's
so
a whole other story. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been super fun.
I would thank y'all for tuning in, and remember, don't forget about it.